At 81, Danny DeVito admits she is the only love of his life, the one that ends with an 81-year-old man sitting in an interview in 2024, being asked about a woman he met 54 years ago and answering without a single pause. No hesitation. No careful diplomacy. We're doing great. We see each other all the time. Rhea and I met in 1970. We've been together that long, and you grow together. It's like you really know how each other is feeling all the time. We participate in conversation daily. That is not a polished answer. That is a man who has never once been confused about who the only love of his life is. This is how he got there. Danny DeVito's mother was 40 years old when he was born. She already had several kids. She didn't want another one. She said it plainly years later. 4 words of rejection and 6 words of pride. He spent his whole life carrying both. His father ran a candy shop. Nice man during the day, but when the drinking started at night, something shifted in that house. Between 1950 and 1955, police were called to their home at least 17 times. Danny learned to read those signs the way children in those homes always do. Sometimes he hid in closets. Sometimes he ran next door. That was where he started, and there was something else the world couldn't see. He was born with a rare condition called Fairbanks disease. That's why he only grew to 4 feet 10 inches. But the height was never the hard part. The disease attacked his joints, his hips, his knees, his back. By his 20s, his pain on any given day sat between a 6 and an 8 out of 10. Not a 2, not a 3. A 6 to an 8. Every single day, Hollywood found out and told him to keep quiet. Weakness doesn't sell, so he kept quiet, and he kept going. He ended up sharing a $75 a month apartment with a young man named Michael Douglas, who was quietly keeping to himself that his father was Kirk Douglas. They ate canned beans, they split their last $27 on headshots and walked them across the city by hand. Michael started booking roles. Danny kept getting rejected. He parked cars. He stood motionless in a clothing store window pretending to be a mannequin. For a stretch, he actually lived out of his Volkswagen Beetle and showered at the YMCA. He kept that story private for decades. Then, a studio came to him with an offer, the equivalent of nearly $1 million today, if he would agree to surgery. Reshape his face, make himself more comfortable for mainstream audiences. He took the contract to a beach bonfire and burned it, and then he said the sentence he would live by for the rest of his entire life. I'd rather be a first-rate version of myself than a second-rate version of someone else. He was broke. He was sleeping in a car. His body hurt every day, and he meant every single word. A small off-Broadway show called The Shrinking Bride, a nothing production. Not the kind of thing that ends up in history books. A 22-year-old woman named Rhea Perlman had come only to watch a friend in the cast. That was the only reason she was there. She'd grown up in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Her father was a Polish immigrant who worked in the toy business. She'd studied drama at Hunter College, graduated in 1968, and had been waitressing at the Rainbow Room in Rockefeller Center. Going to every audition she could find, she sat down to watch her friend, and then she saw him. This stocky man on that stage. Not tall, not the typical Hollywood face, but he was commanding that entire room. The way he moved, the timing of every single line, the way he owned the space around him completely. Rhea Perlman forgot why she had come that night. After the show, she asked around, "Does he have a girlfriend?" "No, she didn't wait for an introduction. I had to meet him immediately," she said years later, still laughing. "I came on to him big time." They went to dinner. They talked for hours. Danny DeVito, this man who had spent years being told he was wrong in every direction, sat across from a woman from Brooklyn who thought he was the most fascinating person she had ever seen on a stage. He said later that he knew, within 22 minutes of meeting her. Not maybe, not probably. He knew. 2 weeks later, Rhea moved into his apartment. Not a month later. Not after a long, careful courtship. 2 weeks. 2 people who looked at each other and recognized something they hadn't known they were looking for. They lived together for 11 years before getting married. Not because the commitment was unclear, but because neither of them needed a piece of paper to understand what they already had. In 1975, Michael Douglas cast Danny in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He was on screen for 5 minutes and 52 seconds and left a mark people are still talking about 50 years later. The film won 5 Academy Awards. Danny wasn't nominated, but he was finally on the map. 3 years later, he turned down 3 movie roles to audition for a TV sitcom called Taxi. His own agent told him it was career suicide. But Danny had read the script and he knew, the same way he always knew. He walked into that audition and delivered a 7-minute monologue that left the whole room silent. ABC was nervous about his height. The show's creator, James L. Brooks, threatened to quit if they didn't cast him. They cast him. And in the second season, Rhea joined the cast. The producers had no idea the two of them had been living together for years. They thought the chemistry was just great acting. It was great acting. It was also 2 people who knew each other the way very few human beings ever know another person. In January 1982, after 11 years together, they got married, quietly, no production. That same year, Rhea began playing Carla Tortelli on Cheers, a role that would earn her 4 Emmy Awards. Danny talked about it the way a man talks when someone else's award feels like the proudest moment of his own life. They had 3 children. Lucy in 1983, Grace in 1985, Jacob in 1987. And together they built Jersey Films, which went on to produce Pulp Fiction, Erin Brockovich, Out of Sight, and Garden State. When Quentin Tarantino had been rejected everywhere, Danny's company gave him money, office space, and $8 million. Tarantino promised it would look like $25 million. He kept that promise. In 1996, Danny directed Matilda. He played the villainous Mr. Wormwood and cast Rhea as his equally villainous wife. What audiences never saw was happening off camera. The young actress playing Matilda, Mara Wilson, was dealing with her mother's cancer during filming. Danny and Rhea quietly became a safe place for her. Before filming finished, Danny arranged for a nearly complete cut of the film to be screened at the hospital so that Mara's mother could watch it before she passed. Mara Wilson said years later that they felt like her favorite aunt and uncle, that they had made something unbearable a little more bearable. The man who played monsters on screen was, in the quiet parts of his life, one of the good ones. He also donated more than $12 million to fund research on bone conditions. None of it under his name, none of it with a press release. He cared more about the result than the recognition. October 2012. After 30 years of marriage and more than 40 years together, Danny and Rhea announced their separation. The world reacted like something had been taken from it. Because in a Hollywood full of relationships that last about as long as a magazine cover, Danny and Rhea had been proof to millions of ordinary people that something different was actually possible. A love story built not for cameras, 2 real people from real places who had built a real life. And you could feel the difference. But here is what did not happen: they did not divorce. By March 2013, just 5 months later, sources close to both of them told People magazine, in the simplest possible terms, they love each other. Always have and always will. They went to therapy. Danny rented out the same restaurant where they'd had one of their early dates. They got back together. They separated again in 2017. Still, no divorce. When Rhea was asked by the New York Post in 2018 why they had never formally ended the marriage, she answered like someone who was done sugarcoating. We've been together a very long time, so there's a lot of love and history. We agree on enough things, so why ruin that with the yucky things that come with a divorce? Danny bought a house less than a mile from hers. They talked every single day. They met at the same restaurant, at the same table. Their son once mentioned they shared a Netflix account and texted each other while watching the same shows from different houses. In 2022, Rhea said something that stopped a lot of people cold. Sometimes I wish we were still together because those were the glory days, but these are other kinds of glory days. Sit with that sentence. There is a whole philosophy of love inside it if you let it land. At 81, in 2025, Danny began speaking publicly about Fairbanks disease for the first time in his life. Not for himself. For the children who couldn't afford treatment. For the people living in daily pain with nobody speaking for them. He had been giving money quietly for years. Now he was adding his voice, and every single time Hollywood had told him to change his face, his body, his height, his shape, the answer had always been the same. I'd rather be a first-rate version of myself than a second-rate version of someone else. He said that when he was broke and sleeping in a Volkswagen. He is still saying it at 81. He is still on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a show he joined in 2006 when it was struggling and never left. Still producing, still showing up. And when that reporter sat down with him in 2024 and asked about Rhea Perlman, the woman he met in a small theater on a cold January night 54 years ago, he did not pause. He did not measure his words. He did not perform something complicated for the camera. He just answered, "We're doing great. We see each other all the time. You know, Rhea and I met in 1970. We've been together that long and you grow together. It's like you really know how each other is feeling all the time. We participate in conversation daily. That is not how you talk about someone you used to love. That is how you talk about the only love of your life." Different house now. Same conversation. Every single day, the world told Danny DeVito he was wrong from the very beginning. Too short. Wrong face. Too much pain. Not enough of whatever they were looking for. He refused to change. He burned the contract. He showed up anyway, every single day, in a body that cost him something just to inhabit. And on a cold January night in 1971, a woman from Brooklyn walked into a theater to watch someone else perform and saw only him. At 81, Danny DeVito will tell you himself, there has only ever been one love of his life. He found her 54 years ago, and he has never once stopped finding her since.